In today's video, we're actually going to be doing something a little bit different. I want to try something out where we talk about the current state of the market in Pokemon. I'm going to be calling it PokéMarketing Monday in honor as I'm actually an Atriarch fan, so I love his Marketing Mondays, and I wanted to do one for some Pokemon news. So let's take a look at the current day in Pokemon. Alright, we're starting off by taking a look at the Surging Sparks booster box. The Surging Sparks booster box has been continuing to climb in price, and I don't think it's going back down anytime soon. They've been settling around 210, 220 I've seen as well. I've been lucky to find a few at local card shops for around 190, but this is something to keep watch of. It definitely is the Scarlet and Violet King set so far. We do have Prismatic Evolutions coming down the road, so we'll see if that actually brings down the hype of Surging Sparks and lowers the value just a little bit, but I'm not so certain it will. Next, we also have the Elite Trainer box, which is around $70 right now. If you've been able to pick up any of these from local stores like Target or Walmart, you should get them because that $55 mark is not looking too bad when these are $70 at MSRP for the TCGplayer.com. Now, the interesting thing is I thought this would be a lot higher given that the normal ETBs are 70, but it actually is a good thing that the Pokemon Center ETBs are only at 115 right now. You know, I assumed that given today's era of like, you know, Pokemon Center ETBs being like $200, $400 sometimes, that I thought this one would be going crazy, but it actually is only $115 right now. Has that crazy Magneton Pokemon Center promo and 2 extra packs, so it definitely is a good pickup. So I would watch if the price goes down a little bit though, because if it goes to like $100, I would pick one up because that's a pretty good price point to get one of these at. Now we also have to talk about the pack, because not only does the booster box go up, obviously if the booster box goes up, the packs go up. The pack is around $6.50 right now, almost $7. It's reaching that $7 price point, which is crazy because that's basically what Evolving Skies was at. It was around a $7 price point for a while before it shot up and exploded into becoming a $10 pack, $15 pack, $20 pack, $25 pack, and booster boxes are like almost over $1,000. Moonbreon is over $1,000. So it's definitely giving a good track record right now based off the sales of Surging Sparks that this is a set to talk about later down the road. We will be talking about this set years to come. Now, we do have to talk about the big chase, the Pikachu. I'm not sure if it's going to stay this expensive. It's definitely around the $450 to $500 mark right now, and it did surge up just a little bit for those Black Friday sales, but I do think it's heading back down to that $450 mark. I do think it's going to head below that $450 mark, and I do think that it'll go even under $400, but this is just my opinion on the data. I don't think that Pikachu is going to hold its own once Prismatic Evolutions comes out. I don't think it's going to hold its own once Team Rocket Says comes out. I don't think it's going to hold its own over the lifetime of the rest of the Scarlet and Violet era. But who knows, I could be wrong. This could be the next Moonbreon. Even though we literally have another Moonbreon coming, I do think that's going to overshadow this card overall. Now, the Latias card is something else. It has starting to go back down in price, but that's because of the Black Friday surges. It was around a 220 mark right before Black Friday. It was starting to go up. Black Friday pushed it way too hard, so we actually have no idea where it's going to land in the market. We see a most recent sale for 208, but that actually might be a Japanese one. I'm not entirely sure, or it's just a lower sale. But right now it's around 240 for the market, 235-ish. If you can find it for under 200, I think that's a great deal. But I do think this card will settle back down to the $200-ish mark, if not lower, by the time the Prismatic Evolutions and other cards come around. I don't think we'll see this card make crazy strides like it has been for Black Friday until later on. Now, we also have the Gold Pikachu, who has been going crazy. This card actually is making huge strides. It started out as like, I think literally a like $60 card or something, or $50 card, and now it's literally $200. It's still climbing too. I think this card is extremely difficult to pull. I'm just extremely lucky. I pulled a few of these now. I've actually pulled one in Japanese, a couple in English, and I've even pulled one in Chinese actually before, so that's crazy. I pulled in so many different languages. I think I'm just super lucky, but this card is typically very difficult to pull. The pull rates for gold cards statistically are harder than the SIRs in Surging Sparks, even though it doesn't feel like it sometimes. You might get a gold card instead of a SIR and you're hoping for the SIR. Technically, gold cards are pretty difficult to pull. So moving onwards, we also have the Myotic, which has been making crazy waves. I think this card started at $80 on release and has only gone up. I think Black Friday pushed it a little bit hard where it hit that 165, almost 170 mark. It's starting to settle back down. It's now at the 160 mark, and I think it's going to continue to go down and be more realistic pricing. But I do think this card is it deserved to go up in price because people love this card, people love the artwork, and they were overshadowing it because they were looking at, you know, the gold Pikachu, the other Pikachus, the Latias, you know, other cards. And similar with the next two cards that we're going to talk about, these cards were definitely overlooked at the start because they started out very strong, and then everyone wanted the Pikachu, everyone wanted the Latias, everyone wanted the Myotic, and they weren't thinking about this card. Shot down to $70. I was lucky enough to pick one up at $70, and now it's at $110, and it's still continuing to climb. I do think Black Friday also had a deal with this one. We will see this probably go back down. I don't think it's going to hit that $70 mark again, but I could be wrong, and we will see where this card goes. It could be a $60 card in 6 months, and we never know. We never know. So now we also have the Alolan Exeggutor. It's a little bit off on the graph, but this card is actually around $90 right now, and the most recent sale was $115, which is crazy. It's probably one of those buy it now listings. Make sure you always scroll to the listings and don't click that buy it now on TCG Player, because that's going to be a higher price because you get a TCG Direct. Is a little bit different. If you want TCG Direct, go ahead, but you can get cheaper prices if you just scroll down and check the listings from other shops. It actually shot down to a almost $45 mark. I was able to pick one up at that price point when it did, and I'm lucky that I did because it is now a $90 card. I do think this one is going to start to see a big dip soon, and it's going to come back down to a more realistic price, probably around that $45 mark once again. I don't think it's going to stay at this $90 or $70 mark, whatever it's at. We do have to talk about the Celesteela because it is the only one of these cards that are in the similar ballpark that did not spike in price suddenly because of Black Friday, even though it did have a bunch of Black Friday sales. So that really tells you that this card has found its standing around that $70 mark right now. It's probably going to be steady. We're going to go back down to the $60 mark that it was at before Black Friday, and then it's probably going to go lower than that. I could see this being a $40 card at the end of it. We do have Jasmine's Gaze, which is an interesting one. It started to have some natural growth a little bit before Black Friday. It was around the $35 mark, shot up just a little bit to 40, and then it shot all the way up to 55 because of Black Friday. I do think this card is going to not level, and it's going to go down. It's going to go back down to around probably $35 to $40 where it was at, maybe even $30 card. This Pikachu, on the other hand, is going wild. This Pikachu is skyrocketing in price. It started out as a $20 card and now is a $40+ card. It's at $42, almost $43, and this continues to grow every single day. I'm not sure if it's just super playable or if people just really want the art and they're starting to realize that this is the art they prefer, but this card is going wild. It's insane. Now we also have to talk about the Latios. The Latios is something that has actually been pretty steady since release. It's been $40 now. It's spiked up and down just a little bit here and there, but it keeps settling around that $40 mark. So I think that's actually going to be a price point we're going to see it at for months to come. It might go down as more prismatic evolutions and other sets come out and overshadow these cards, but I do think until those come out, we're going to see this card stay around the $40 mark. Durant is another one that has skyrocketed back up because people were underestimating and overshadowing it from the other cards. Like, they were looking at the Pikachu and they were looking at the Latias. They were not looking at this Durant, and now this Durant is $40. People finally picked up on this Durant and realized how amazing of a card it is because it just infinitely loops into each other. People want lines of it. People want binders of this card. They love this card. It went from literally almost $15 to $40. Black Friday definitely had to deal with it, but I think this card was due for a spike up. Now, we have to talk about the new set that literally came out last weekend, Teral Festival. This is prices on release date for Japan marketplaces, so this is not prices you necessarily saw on TCG Player for the English prices, or like the English market or the American market. And it's also not the prices you probably see on eBay. You might see maybe double or $100 plus, or it might be maybe, I'd say 1.5 to 1.75x whatever these prices are that you're seeing. And that's probably because the prices that these are showing are directly from Japanese sites. They're from things like Mercari Japan, and people are using buy to get a proxy to get these over to them for cheaper prices, which you can also do. You can look that up on how to do that yourself. But if you want, if you want these cards, I do think that they're going to go down in price. So I would wait a little bit longer because Teral Festival has really good hit rates. So we'll see how these really go. Now we have to start talking about the other sets on Scarlet and Violet, and we'll quickly blast through these. We got Stellar Crown, which has been skyrocketing in price now. It's gone up, and I don't think it's just because of Black Friday. I do think that people were overlooking the set and finally are starting to pick up on the set. It's slowly crept up to that 125 mark, and it's because not of this Terapagos, but the cards that are following this. The Terapagos, surprisingly, is actually the card I think is going to be dropping. It might not even be the most expensive card in the set in a year from now, but I could see this card being a $60 card literally 6 months from now. I do think this card is beautiful, but it's definitely not as hype as the other Rainbow Terra Stellar cards. Now, on the contrary, this card and the Bulbasaur, which we'll be talking about afterwards, have been going up in price, and I do think that these are something to keep a watch of. They're going to suddenly pop the bubble and explode upwards because these cards are original 151 Pokemon, and they're the original ones. They're the original starters. They're part of the trio. They go with the Obsidian Flames promo, and this card is amazing. It did go up a little bit because of Black Friday, but I do think that part of that growth is also natural, including this Bulbasaur. Now, we did see them start to spike down before Black Friday, so we might actually see them spike back down to that $40 mark for this, and maybe we'll see a $45 mark or $50 mark for the Squirtle, but we aren't really sure. We don't know where these cards are going to go. People still really want these cards, and they're very sought after. Now, we also have to talk about Shrouded Fable. This spike, if you can see, it's already dipping back down. The prices for this booster box skyrocketed up. It was literally a $28 booster box, and now they shot it out to $36. It's now at $34 and still going down. So don't overspend on this box. It's going to go back down. It went up because of Black Friday. Similarly, this card also went up because of Black Friday. Only by a little bit, though. It went up about $7, almost $10, maybe $5-ish. It's at $65 mark. It was at $60 before this, and I think it's going to go back down to that mark. The Fezandipiti has some interesting data. The data was a little messed up, but basically it stayed a $50 card through and through. It's been $50. It hasn't changed too much. It went up just a little bit for Black Friday, but it's going to stay at that $50 mark because it's been that for so long. Now, we also have to talk about the Cassiopeia. This card has spiked up just a little bit, but I do think it's going to go back down to that $48 and then possibly even a $40 card. It could be even a $30 card 6 months from now when all the other sets have come out. So keep an eye. If you want to pick this up, you should pick it up then. Twilight Masquerade, I think, is one that people are not talking enough about anymore because of Surging Sparks and Prismatic Evolutions, and they're getting underlooked. The price is starting to go down, and we should definitely keep an eye on it, because just because this says going down does not mean that this Greninja is going down. This Greninja is still high. It's still at $325. That's above $300, and it stayed above $300 for a long time now. Once it hit above, it barely dipped down to $300 and then shot back up, and it stayed around that $320, $315, $330 mark for a while now, and I think it's continuing to stay this way. It might get overshadowed a little bit when Prismatic comes out, but I think over time, years from now, we're still going to look down at this Greninja card as one of the kings of Scarlet and Violet, so keep an eye on this card on the pricing. This Carmine, it has a little bit of natural pricing spike up, but I don't think it's actually that natural. I do see a lot of sales there, which means Black Friday, but we did see it spike up just a little bit before Black Friday, before those sales, so there might have been some settling there. I think it's going to settle around that $60 mark. It might go below that, might hit the $50 mark, but we could even see it go lower than that, but I definitely don't think it's going to stay a $70 card. The Eevee is a different one, a different scenario. It was already on the way up. Black Friday shot it up even more, and it's now at the $65 mark, and I could see this card literally being $75, $80 come to in the 6 months. It could even be a $100 card in 6 months or more, because things like this, especially the Magikarp, they skyrocket in price, and we are never ready for it. Now we have to talk about Temporal Forces. Temporal Forces has been sneaking up on us, and it shot up a lot on Black Friday, and I think it's not going to go down too soon, especially because while the boxes, I think, were pushed up by Black Friday, these cards are going up naturally like crazy. The Raging Bolt Chase card is now $105, most recent sale $110, and so this card continues to go up by the day. It is getting bought and bought and bought, and I think this card is going to stay insane, especially because typically we're going to see this card be very playable. It's going to be really good in the meta, and people just love the artwork as well. So when you have that combination, typically a card stays expensive, and if the card starts to go up in price, the boxes will as well. So keep an eye on those Temporal Forces boxes. Similarly, the Iron Crown one shot up a lot for Black Friday, which is crazy to me that it even did that. Like, it was literally sub 60 for so long and suddenly shot up to $80. It's now an $80 card, so that's wild to me. It's still going up supposedly, so I don't know if it suddenly became playable or there's a lot of hype around it. We'll see where it goes. I don't know if it's going to stay at that mark, but it's right now at the $80 mark. We also have the Walking Wake, which people are finally waking up about, that this card is amazing. The basically raptor-like Suicune. It's still going up. It's around the $62 mark, most recent sale $65, so it's basically around the $65 mark. Keep an eye on it. I think it's going to keep going up and might fight for that top spot one day. Maybe second top spot, because Raging Bolt is pretty high up there. Now we have to talk about the crazy set, Paldean Fates, because it has pretty much almost doubled in price since a few months ago. It was like 30. You could get one for like $30 to $40 for a booster, and now you find them for like 65. That's crazy. It's almost double in price, depending on where you look at it. But it's mainly because of this card and the Charizard as well. But this card especially, this card went from like a 60 something dollar card, if you notice down there. No, I think that was actually around 85 is the lowest it probably got. 80-ish, maybe a little below 80, and then suddenly just exploded one day, hit the 200 mark, broke that. Now it's at the 300 mark. I'm scared it's gonna break that, but we'll see where it really goes. I do think this card deserves it. I think this card is amazing. It's actually my favorite current artist by USG Men. He only has 3 cards made. This is his first card. Such an amazing artist. I actually literally followed him on all his social media accounts before he even made Pokemon cards, because he does Pokemon fan art, and I thought it was amazing that he suddenly just started making Pokemon cards. Had to get this. Got it super early. Lucky that I got it early before the $300 mark hit. Now we also have to talk about this Charizard. It's finally starting to move. It was around $100, $110 for so long. Suddenly spiked up to 140. It has gone up a lot because of Black Friday, and I do think it's going to go back down. It's around 160 right now, but I think it's going to go back down to that 140 mark. Similarly to this Gardevoir, it actually shot up a lot before Black Friday, surprisingly, around that $65 mark, and now it's around 55, and I think it's going to continue to go down. I don't think it's going to go back up very much. We also have to talk about Paradox Rift because it shot up a lot very recently, and not just because of Black Friday. It's now around that 125 mark, and it's also because of a lot of these cards are just naturally moving up in price. The Groudon has gone up from a $40-something card to a $70 card. The Roaring Moon has started to go back up from when it was a $45 card, and now it is around a $56 card. We're seeing the Altaria starting to move again too. When it was around $40, shot all the way down to $20, $25, and then now is going back up. It's around $33. I do think this one is a little high because of Black Friday, but I do think it'll probably settle back around the $30 mark. And this one, I have no idea what happened. It just shot up like nothing happened. It's like $17 and then suddenly now $32. It like doubled in price overnight. I don't know what happened with this card. I don't know where it's gonna go, but keep an eye on it. It could be making some crazy moves. Maybe people are finally picking up on the Iron Valiant. Maybe it's very playable. We don't know. Now the Scarlet Violet 151 set, the Elite Trainer boxes are around 120 right now, still going up. Charizard is still climbing around 220. Graded cards are around 600 plus. Blastoise, it bounced down just a little bit. Black Friday brought it back to life. I don't know if it's going to stay this high. It might go back down to that $65 mark pre-Black Friday. Similar for that Venusaur, it was around 65, and then it started to go up naturally a little bit, and then Black Friday shot it up to 72, 73. It might go back down to that $65 mark. We'll have to see if 151 prices really go back down. Obsidian Flames is one that people have been eyeing on, and it's been around 125 for a few months now. It's been a little bit wild with this one because I think it's going to go up even more right now. And you can see that upward trend start. And that's especially because, like I said earlier, when cards go up in the set, typically the boxes do too. And this card has exploded. It went from literally a $40 card for so long to now a $70 card. And I don't know if it's going to stay like this, but it is $70 right now. People are starting to realize how good this Obsidian Flames Charizard is, and they want it. Similarly to this Gold Charizard, starting to finally go up in price. It was around $17 to $20 for so long, and it is now $26. Now we also have the Ninetails. It was a literal $10 card, and then went up to like $13 for so long, and then now it is a $20 card. Started to spike back down. I think that the Black Friday sales definitely had to do with this one, but I don't think it's going to spike back down too much. Maybe at most to around $15. But this card is definitely a beautiful one. People love Ninetales. People love this artwork in general, and it's just a great card to have. Now this one is one we got to talk about because it's been making waves literally in the graph. You can see it's making waves there, going up and down. Now it's around the 140 mark. It is because of this Magikarp. This Magikarp has been going up and up and up. This Magikarp is now at $190, almost $200, and it's by the Shinji Konda artist, and who's actually literally doing a Teral Festival card, which is going to be the Roaring Moon. Always keep your eyes on Shinji Konda cards. The Teral Festival slash Prismatic Evolutions Shinji Konda art of Roaring Moon is definitely going to make some moves as well. Everyone loves Shinji Konda arts. If it's not expensive on release, watch how it goes. 6 months, 1 year, 2 years later. That Roaring Moon will make moves in English. Now, Scarlet Violet base, we finally got to talk about this one. This one snuck up on us. It was a $90 to almost $80 box for so long, and is suddenly $120. I don't think we're going to see this box be anything under $100 for a very long time. I think the days of sub $100 booster boxes are over. Booster boxes are just way too expensive now, and Going up with the price of the booster box are the singles of the Gardevoir, which has now hit $35. But I do think that while it was a little bit of a natural growth, I do think Black Friday boosted it just a little bit. Maybe it'll settle back around $30. And Miriam shot up a lot, definitely because of Black Friday. And I do think it's going to go back down. Maybe around that $25 mark is probably where it'll settle. Maybe a little bit under that. But this card is definitely being overlooked. If you really want this card, it's gonna get cheaper soon, and don't overlook this card because this card is definitely a beautiful card to have. And that's actually gonna wrap us up for the modern day of Scarlet and Violet pricing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this type of video, and if you guys want me to make more of these, let me know in the comment section below.